Hello and welcome back to the PPW podcast. As always, bringing you news, views, and interviews from the world of real estate, online marketplaces, and prop tech industries. My name's Harvey Hancock. I'll be your host today. I'm news editor at Online Marketplaces. As always, I am with Simon Baker. Simon, how are you feeling today?
Fantastic. Thanks, Harvey. Still recovering from a long conference week where we run the startup day on the Tuesday, followed by half day Wednesday, full day Thursday, half day Friday. In fact, Wednesday's a full day now because we also have three workshops. At the beginning, we had Portal Ventures, PropTex, and Iovox each do sort of 45-minute workshop where they go in depth into various product solutions, what's happening in the industry, and they were packed out, standing room only type workshops that were run. And then the conference was fantastic. It was, I've been going through this morning the feedback. Everyone super loved the conference, very positive, loved the speakers, loved a lot of the topics that we talked about. Um, One person said there was too much on AI, and I was thinking, yeah, but the theme of the conference was AI and prop tech. So of course we're going to talk about AI in detail. But overall, it was really good. 320, 30 odd people at the conference from 44 countries. I met a lot of new people for the first time. Really good connections, lots of meetings, lots of really interesting discussions. And I think importantly, and I'm not sure whether you experienced the same thing, but a lot of people said they took away a lot of really interesting and actionable um, ideas that they could apply to their businesses literally tomorrow.
Absolutely. I was having a conversation with one person yesterday. They said, I mean, I don't want to plug the conference too much, but what they basically said was, I can't believe it's taken us this long to come to the conference because I would have been doing things very differently had I been involved earlier. And now they feel like they've reached almost a state of enlightenment and they're ready to take their business to the next level. But not only that,
Almost,
as
yes.
as as you say, there's a lot of people, but a lot of meaningful connections, new friends, old friends. Um, it's great to exhaust my social battery in that way. There's the drinks evenings, the little tapas that are going around on the trays. I mean, you get the business during the day, you get the relaxation during the evening, and a really healthy balance. And the conversations that are going on during coffee breaks and drinks breaks, all about the business, all about the industry. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up as an overall theme is that this is a conference during which that money is changing hands and handshakes are being made, right, Simon? There are real deals going on from supplier to supplier, from portal to portal. I mean, all kinds of partnerships going on, sometimes even acquisitions and takeovers. I mean,
Yes.
this is a very active marketplace as well as a conference.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the sponsors. Um, must have been on Tuesday this week, so a couple of days ago, and we were chatting about, you know, clearly did what he got out of the conference and so on. He said, I got basically 10 to 15 potential customers that if I execute well against them, could almost double my business. Okay. And he was blown away by just the quality. He had sponsored the conference before, but he said, I'm already signed up for Bangkok, which is coming up in March. And then next year, our European conference will be in Madrid in October. So we can let everyone know that now. And he said, I'm signing up, I'm sponsoring both of them, lock me in, because I got really good business out of this. And, he's super happy with it. But we should talk about some of the sort of the takeaways, right, from this conference, some of the themes. What for you was sort of, one of the key takeaways that you went, oh, that was interesting and, super useful.
Good question. I think we're obviously going to spend a reasonable part of this discussion on AI. So let's get it out of the way at the top of the show, right, Simon? Obviously, one of the named themes for this year's conference, a couple of maybe almost some counterintuitiveness, some things I agree with, some things I don't agree with. But what we can say for sure is that this is a technology that is starting to impact lots of businesses in lots of different ways now. We saw so many different uses of AI from so many different businesses around the world. I think, if I'm being honest, I don't think we've seen the singular solution that's going to change the business world forever yet.
Hmm.
But I see those wheels starting to roll down the hill, shall we say.
Yep.
Um, I think one big thing that I'd like to raise in terms of AI is imagery.
Yep.
It's looking to me more and more like imagery and the data that you can extract from imagery, emptying the spaces, digital staging, virtual staging. These are starting to look more like a core competency for a portal business and a marketplace moving forward than a nice to have. Lots of
Correct.
different speakers talking about it in different markets, different levels of development, whether they're emerging or developed. I think one takeaway for me is that for our listeners, you need to be doing some kind of virtual staging, some kind of image recognition, something to do with AI plus imagery. I think that's going to keep you, at the very least, in the room with the big players.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is I think yesterday Zillow announced the acquisition of Virtual Staging AI. I think that's the name of the company. And REA, same day, announced an investment into a company called Immersive. I think it's called Immersive.
Immersive, yes.
Yeah, in Australia. Though chatting to a few people, I think it's pretty much contra, and yeah, it's not a massive investment, and they do a lot of this stuff. But I think it's showing that these these companies are saying this is quite critical, and I've sort of got a list here of some of the key applications of AI that I sort of took away with. One is clearly this immersive experience, whether it's companies like PropTechs, who allow you to on the fly using a freeform text box, just take any internal picture on any listing and change it. So it becomes yours, right? It's not you're looking at someone else's house, you're looking at your potential house. And you can say, change the wall color, put my furniture in. So you can literally take a picture of your current furniture in your current house. It interrogates that picture. It pulls out the sofa, the table, the kitchen chairs, and so on. And then you can push them around the house to see if it fits, if it looks any good before you've even bought the place. I mean, that's sort of, basically reimagining it as your home with your furniture is sort of products like PropTechs, offers. Yeah, virtual tours, virtual staging, we just talked about, image recognition, getting in the background and really understanding, you know, what's in an image so that when someone says, oh, I'm really interested in living near the beach or living near water or near a playground, or I would love to have, swings in the backyard. Well, if someone's got those in the pictures, it can, and the agent hasn't entered in that metadata, then bang, that listing can come to the front. So that's sort of one thing. So you're right, that immersive property experience. Another one is sort of personalized search and recommendation. AI has the chance to, how do I think about giving much better results, um, uh, rather than just straight up um, the default list. Um, and what is it that you really want, Harvey? What is it you're really looking for? How can I give you that, super interesting answer? And then, clearly the challenge for marketplaces for that is, well, how do I do my advertising model around giving you the exact answer you want? Right? That's the critical thing. Right? If I give you that exact answer, then I have it's a much harder to make money from, having bigger ads above smaller ads above smaller ads again. So there's some opportunities and challenges in that. Um, Another one which I think was very important, and a lot of the companies like, especially like the Divisil Group with Imran Ali Khan was talking about, was how do you really focus on back office automation, making what's behind the curtain really efficient and effective, running super well. Everything from doing an AVM, automated valuation models, workflow automation, content generation and management. I can't remember the company now that was helping agents in Mexico. I think it was Propiedades, actually. How do they get their listings online in less than, it was like 30-second listings or something. I
I
can't
think it
remember the
was like a
exact.
1 minute listing. It was
Yeah,
it
one
was
minute.
impressive stuff, and all you needed was WhatsApp and a couple of images.
Yeah, and AI did the rest. Chatbots, moderation of listings, so on, and lead identification. There's sort of a whole bunch of the applications that people really, really talked about. And I know one of the things that you're interested in is data, and sort of some of the insights there, and how AI can give us that super cool insights into what is really happening um, within any you know these data lakes that these portals have, terabytes worth of data.
Absolutely. I mean, do you remember on the final morning we had Hannah Parker from Adland? I
Yes.
mean, this is a company that has, as you say, terabytes of data about individual properties, from what the EPC rating is to how likely the property is to be at risk of erosion or flooding. And you're thinking, I mean, this is a young business, small business, but there are so many data points that can educate buyers and sellers of properties, and also the agent selling them, as a differentiating factor. Like data as a differentiating factor. If you've got your hands on proprietary stuff that you can introduce into your pitch for, this is why I'm going to sell your property, this is how I'm going to
Yeah,
buy your property. I mean, it's a competitive necessity, isn't it?
it is. I think the more insights you can gain, the better service you can provide for your advertisers, your searchers. I think homes.com is a good example of one that's trying to give you a far more immersive experience when it comes to living in a suburb or a region. Um, yeah, just more than here's the house and on a map, right? In that sort of type information. Also, another one was sort of interesting that came up, and I can't remember who brought it up now, was about AI powered CRM tools and really better agent support around that. And I think they're the sort of things that are also are very, very interesting. I wish I could remember which company was talking about that one. No, no, I can't remember now. It might have been actually it might have been who is it? Um, the guys in Canada, Max Steinman from RentSync. I think they were talking about that. And also provide your agents with data-driven insights, more information on buyer preferences, what's happening with the market trends and so on, and clearly automating their tasks so they look like they are performing better for the potential buyer or renter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this reminds me of Bangkok a bit, because we had Niels Korber from Ringier talking about how there are three layers to every AI strategy and data strategy going forward, and the vast majority of these businesses' time should really be spent on identifying how they can improve their own internal efficiencies, their marketing team, their sales team, whatever it might be. But at the same time, you need to be doing stuff that is of direct benefit, especially to agents if you're a portal. Because as you say, you want to remove friction for them closing deals and earning their commissions, right?
Yes, yeah, agree. Now let's move on a little bit to Andy Florance, because that was a fun discussion and conversation. What were your two or three, takeaways from that discussion?
He doesn't like Rightmove.
Correct. I
I
think
don't
so.
think he's impressed by the valuation. I don't think he's impressed by the margin. I don't think he's impressed by the idea that they think they are potentially invulnerable or invincible. I think, I mean, I don't want to get too much into Andy Florence's psyche right now, but I think that's what sort of got him firing on all cylinders, is that I think he thinks it's time for Rightmove to have a serious competitor come into the picture and see whether it's as strong as it has historically been. Um, Also had some strong opinions on REA Group as well. I think it's fair to
Yeah.
say that Andy Florance in general doesn't like market leaders who keep increasing prices, without increasing value.
Yeah, and I think that the key theme there is he has this view that portals need to be far more agent friendly than they are. And if you're not agent friendly, you're not really servicing the industry. You're just sort of taking value from the industry, and that you can clearly create much more value and much more long-term value by being far more agent friendly. And that's the approach they're taking with On the Market, which I think was sort of leaked out. They're going to rename homes.com or homes.co.uk. I think that was let slip in that conversation. And that's what they're doing in the US with homes.com, is just getting far more agent friendly, agent focused, which I think is actually the right way to do it.
It
Okay,
is the right
from
way to do it. There's
from
there's there's a long-term future to being customer friendly. That
yes,
there's not the short-term future of constantly increasing prices might help your bottom line today, but in 5, 10, 15 years, as he suggested with REA Group, it's unsustainable, right? I mean, I remember
yes,
we got a question from the audience, and it was something along the lines of, "Is an agent-friendly approach better?" And Andy sarcastically said, "Oh, so you're telling me that I should respect my customer?" Well, yeah, I should. And if I
yes,
don't respect my customer, I'm going to lose him sooner or
yes.
later.
Yeah, so I think it was good. He's also had a lot to say about their growth strategy, and clearly he's investing a bucket load in marketing, $1 billion in marketing in the US around the Homes.com business, which he'll claim he's now ahead of Realtor.com, and that he'll also claim in the United Kingdom he's ahead of Zoopla. Um, you know, Factually, I don't know what's real. But they are certainly marketing a lot and certainly wanting to make sure that they are at the at the absolute forefront of consumer mind. I think he said that the brand recognition of Homes.com went from like 1% to 33% in the UK, well, in the US, which I'd hope if $1 billion worth of marketing would actually get you that outcome in that approach. And then when sort of pushed around what markets to look at, he's a little bit coy. Clearly, you would be not wanting to give away what you're doing. But my view is, they should be seriously looking at Domain in Australia. They should be probably looking at a couple of the assets in Europe. So I think they make a lot of sense. And yeah, he did throw out Vietnam as a strange example, but I think that was a bit of a red herring along the way.
I think Vietnam are red herring, but if I'm Andy Florance right now, I'm looking at major European countries like France, Spain, Italy, Germany, and sort of starting to create that network of portals. We've already got one in the UK. I think somewhere in that area, and I, not to give too much of a spoiler, but we've got another article from Andy Florance coming out soon. I managed to speak to him one on one for about 35, 45 minutes immediately after his onstage interview with you. And, well, I'll give the listeners a teaser. They are going to be accelerating their business in the next 12 to 24 months. He said that CoStar historically closes 2 acquisitions a year. Since 1995, they've acquired 2 businesses pretty much on average every year ever since. I think he might be looking at 3 in the next 12 to 18 months, and I think at least 2 of them are going to be in Europe.
Okay, well let's see how that one pans out. Some of the other
Um,
themes that's sorry, you go.
could I raise one for you because I've got a
Yeah, yeah,
question about it, which is we'll move on from CoStar now. Um, good chat by Graham Patterson from Jitty. He basically
yes.
said, with a free to list service, can you really disrupt an industry? And he said, no, right. And what he suggested was that we're going to see a shift in the industry towards the digital home buying agent, I think was how he spoke about it. The digital home buying agent. What's your thoughts on that concept? And is there any substance to it, in your
a,
opinion?
di- a digital home buying agent, someone who operates on your behalf to help identify, negotiate, and close a deal.
Absolutely.
It's the way I think of that.
That was his idea, and it wasn't just Jitty that fits this profile. There was another company that entered Pitch Club called Proppy in Belgium.
Yes.
Very similar kind of model where they're going to be scraping, they're going to be bringing huge supply, but they're going to be finding different ways to help people buy and sell. Your thoughts,
Yeah.
Simon?
I think the answer is definitely, and whether that is a tool that replaces an agent or a tool that works in parallel to an agent or a tool or a set of tools that is used by agents, it's got to emerge. Okay. I think this is like everything. It's the slow boiling of the frog. You're buying and selling a house. It's a big transaction and one that is quite nerve-wracking. And if you're doing that, you've got to um, you're going to use an agent because it's something that they hold themselves out as experts and know it better than you do. But I think over time, people get more and more confident at doing things without um, intermediaries. Think of buying a car now. I don't. Who goes to a car dealership? You don't. You buy most online. You see it. You like it. You maybe buy it direct or from someone, or you um, uh, buy online and have it drive it and put it outside the front of your house. So I think all of those create um, different ways of doing business, and I think it's inevitable that the industry becomes more and more efficient and effective, and these home buying AI driven or AI enabled or AI supported agents becomes more and more realistic. So yeah, I absolutely believe that.
One other thing that I wanted to raise before we move on, which was I wanted to give a shout out to Abdurrahman Zahiri from Property Sorted Pitch Club winner for Barcelona, launching a portal in Egypt for now to take on the MENA region. I've already published an interview with him. Very interesting. You should definitely read it. He wants to take on two unicorns in the MENA region. He wants to take on Property Finder and the Bizzle Group.
Hmm.
Um, Firstly, just a quick word on Pitch Club and what it means to win the competition. But secondly, what's it going to take for a startup portal to take on the big guns in MENA?
Um, Geez, I'll do the first one easy. Pitch Club is a great, fun competition. We had 7 or 8 companies present 6 minutes each. Then the panel of our illustrious judges sort of give their on they ask questions and give feedback on the spot about the pitch and the business and so on. And then they vote and the audience votes to anoint a winner, bottle of wine and a beautiful trophy. But more importantly, I think what's important for companies like that is they've always got to be pitching, always got to be talking about what they're doing, always got to be creating awareness, um, so that you know so that they get better and better. And I would encourage every single company to get in front of as many people as possible to talk about what they're doing. Now, in terms of taking on market leaders in um, the Middle East. It's challenging, to put it bluntly. If you think about it, what do you call it? Property Fund has been there for 20 years, maybe just under 18 years. I remember because at REA we used to own 51% of that, and Dubizzle Group has been there for at least a decade, about 12 years now. They are both of them are very, very good operators, very good at what they do. I think Abdurrahman's going to have his work cut out for him, but he's got an innovative idea and a good approach to have a go at that market. But it's not going to be a walk in the park. But then, when is building a business a walk in the park?
If it's a good business, it's never going to be a walk in the park.
No,
Um,
definitely not.
any other key themes for you, Simon, before we get out of here? Anything that you feel
Um,
like needs to be raised before we switch
mm,
off?
the other thing is we did have a bit of a chat about consolidation of the market, the musical chairs, ownership changes, Property Guru, Idealista, Adevinta. and so on. And it was clear that there's going to be probably more, not less. I mean, I just had a call with someone prior to our podcast here who was talking about some people circling various companies in Spain and in Italy. So those markets are hotting up. And it wasn't CoStar. They were talking
It
about, it was
wasn't
another company.
CoStar for a change.
No, it was not as the acquirer. It was other people who were looking. And so I think there's going to be this continued M&A activity, especially since Adevinta's sort of basically breaking up into its components. They bought
Yeah.
it to sell off the elements. So I think that's another key theme that we saw.
Could I hop in very quickly there with
Yeah.
one quick question, which is during the very, very final session of the conference, Jonathan from AIM Group said something very interesting, which was if CoStar succeeds in consolidation, then what does that mean? But then if CoStar doesn't succeed, does that prove that the market leaders are untouchable? Basically, that's the long and short of it. Do you have a quick response to that?
Um, no one's untouchable. Just because they can't get purchased doesn't mean. It depends what he means, right? If he means, can they can't be purchased as REA was trying to buy Rightmove, for example, doesn't mean they're untouchable. It just means that the offer wasn't right. And I think the more important question is, can throwing $1 billion in marketing and resources at a number two or number three player create a number one player? That's the bigger question, right? Because if the answer is no matter what I throw at it, number one stays number one, then so be it. But as we've seen in Italy, it was Casa the leader, then it was Immobiliare. Now it's a duopoly between Idealista and Immobiliare, and it's a forever moving feast in leadership. And if you don't continue to focus on execution, don't continue to execute um, you know, at a super high level, and you don't embrace things like AI and many of the key learnings from this conference, then you are exposing yourself. And
Absolutely.
perhaps the REAs and right moves are a little exposed if they don't, they almost become trapped in their old world model. Got to make a lot of money. I've got to do as I think Andrew Reckman, a former exec from the REA group and now a consultant based out of Barcelona, was saying, their business are built on the good, better, best advertising spot, right? Big, bigger, biggest, the same concept. And if you continue to build around just that model, but the ground moves underneath you, then the house of cards can come tumbling down.
Indeed.
So on
That's
that
a
note,
topic of conversation for a future conference, I think.
future conference and a future podcast.
Speaking of, so firstly, we'll wrap up now, guys. But firstly, listen to our AI podcast that we released earlier, either today or yesterday, depending on when this goes out. So we've got a 12 to 15 minute podcast by two non-existent people summarizing the entire conference for your ears only. And secondly, Simon, I can't believe I'm saying this already, but we're selling tickets for Bangkok 2025 already.
Yeah,
So go on,
already.
give us the
So
pitch.
Bangkok 2025 in March. Check out the website will be up and running later this week, but tickets are already available. We do a pre-release to those who are historic attendees. If you come once, then I'll give you the cheapest prices. That's only fair. Okay, so we've already sold a good 25, 30 tickets to that one. So we'll end up with 200 people in Bangkok mid-March. I think it's 11, 12, 13 of March. And then we've already locked in dates for Europe next year, and we will formally launch that later this month. And that'll be in Madrid, and that'll be in mid-October. So basically this time next year, we'll have that one. And then we are potentially dabbling our toes into a Latin American conference, thinking about maybe Mexico City. But that one's still in the to-do bucket. And if we do, it'll be June-ish next year.
Perfect. Simon, anything else from you before we get out of here?
Nope, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. So until next time, it is goodbye from Simon Baker.
And it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. Ta-ra. Bye.
Thanks. Bye bye. Ta